And he said, there was a man who had 2 sons, and the younger of them said to his father, Father, give me the share of property that is coming to me. And he divided his property between them. Not many days later, the younger son gathered all he had and took a journey into a far country, and there he squandered his property in reckless living. And when he had spent everything, a severe famine arose in that country, and he began to be in need. So he went and hired himself out to one of the citizens that country, who sent him into his fields to feed pigs. And he was longing to be fed with the pods that the pigs ate, and no one gave him anything. But when he came to himself, he said, How many of my father's hired servants have more than enough bread, but I perish here with hunger? I will arise and go to my father, and I will say to him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and before you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son. Treat me as one of your hired servants. And he arose and came to his father. But while he was still a long way off, his father saw him and felt compassion, and ran and embraced him and kissed him. And the son said to him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and before you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son. But the father said to his servants, Bring quickly the best robe and put it on him, and put a ring on his hand and shoes on his feet, and bring the fattened calf and kill it, and let us eat and celebrate. For this my son was dead and is alive again. He was lost and is found. And they began to celebrate. Now his older son was in the field, and he came and drew near to the house. He heard music and dancing, and he called one of the servants and asked what these things meant. And he said to him, Your brother has come, and your father has killed the fattened calf, because he has received him back safe and sound. But he was angry and refused to go in. His father came out and entreated him. But he answered his father, Look, these many years I have served you, and I have never disobeyed your command, yet you never gave me a young goat, that I might celebrate with my friends. But when this son of yours came, who has devoured your property with prostitutes, you killed the fattened calf for him. And he said to him, Son, you are always with me, and that is mine is yours. It was fitting to celebrate and to be glad, for this your brother was dead and is alive. He was lost and is found.
See that you do not despise one of these little ones. For I tell you that in heaven their angels always see the face of my Father who is in heaven. What do you think? If a man has 100 sheep, and one of them has gone astray, does he not leave the 99 on the mountain and go in search of the one that went astray? And if he finds it, truly I say to you, he rejoices over it more than over the 99 that never went astray. So it is not the will of my Father who is in heaven that one of these little ones should perish.
So I'm going to start off with a story. And honestly, I might get in a little trouble for exposing her. But, oh well. When my granny was younger, certain events happened, and her aunt, or my aunt, her sister, refused to have any contact with the Mississippi side of the family. My granny still visited and contacted them and whatnot, but it wasn't until 17 years later that Aunt Pat finally went to visit. The family was so overjoyed. One of them came up to her holding a pie, and they were like, So I remember you liked chocolate pie as a kid, so we made you one. And my granny, all the while, was sitting in the corner kind of like, I like chocolate pie too. You guys never made me a chocolate pie just for visiting. What the heck? So if we look back at Luke 15, Jesus tells us the story of the prodigal son and how the son kind of left without much notice. The younger son said to his father, Father, give me my share of the estate. So he divided the property between them. And not long after that, the younger son got together all he had, set off for a distant country, and there squandered his wealth in wild living. When he returned, the father was so overjoyed that they threw a party for him. He killed the fattened calf and gave him the finest robe, put a ring on his finger, and sandals on his feet. Now the best part about Jesus' stories is that they aren't just that. They're metaphors, analogies, similes. They're never straightforward, because what's the fun of that? In this story, the Father is God the Father. He'll give you what you wish for and let you choose your way. The younger son is us, taking what we want, going out and often we end up coming back shameful. So my sister likes to use the metaphor that God has a straight path for your life. It's straightforward. This is what's best for you. This is what we want for you. And you have the option to walk alongside with him. But there are often little deviations that you can take. But you're always welcome back. I also like to look at this kind of like as teenagers. Our parents don't know anything. Like, no. So they'll tell us one thing, and they'll be like, so if you do that, this is going to happen. Or if you do that, it's going to end bad. No, Dad, quiet. You were never a teenage girl. You don't know anything. Shush. I'm going to do it anyway. Later you come home and you're just like, you were kind of a little bright. I'm just going to go in my room. And then the older son, that's God's people, which in modern context could be compared to as Christians. They're always doing what's right. They're staying with the Lord. And they become hurt when they see someone who is not following the Lord come back and the Lord is overwhelmed and rejoicing and throwing them a party. They think, why not me? I do everything right. I read my Bible every day. I pray every night. I go to church every Sunday. So why them when they haven't been doing anything? The thing is, God loves us all equally. But if somebody was lost and not with him, when they come back, he's going to throw them a huge party because of his reckless love. Now, why is a word like reckless associated with our forgiving God? Reckless has such an irresponsible feel to it. The technical definition for reckless is to do something without thinking or caring about the consequences of said action. Reckless here is him not caring about the consequences that may come from never giving up on you, no matter how much you give up on him, no matter how much you give up on yourself. The younger son gave up and was asking to be treated like a servant. The father recklessly, not worrying about the other son being upset, welcomed him back with open arms, for his love is never ending. Looking back at Matthew 18, Jesus, as normal, compares God to a shepherd and us, his flock, to sheep. If one sheep strays, he will follow that one, leaving the 99, because you need him. When I was younger, I did go through a lot, and I asked the question everybody does. Why? I began to doubt a little, because if he's such a great God, how could such terrible things happen to me? I still went to church, and I went to youth group on occasion, but I felt kind of out of place. I started becoming friends with the people in the youth group. I went to confirmation, and I learned that bad things happen to good people to give them the story they need to do things like this. I fully believed again after confirmation and went on retreats, and I was going at it. Going to church every Sunday, youth group every Sunday night. But there was still kind of this hole. So on our second winter retreat, I heard the song Reckless Love for the first time, and I kind of felt this relief. I'd always been holding back from God because I was still scared. I thought that if I put all my trust in him, I would get hurt again. Oftentimes we start going through the motions. We go to church most Sunday, kids will go to youth group, parents will send their kids to youth group, and we think that's enough. But it's really when you stop going through the motions and just listen to God, open your heart to him, that he finds you. He gives the weary strength. God was there before you took a breath. God was there before you spoke a word. God was there when you were working against him. God was there when you felt worthless. He was the one who lit up every shadow. He was the one who climbed every mountain. He was the one who kicked down every wall. He was the one who tore down every single lie, coming for you. It was this reckless love that fights for you now, fought for you back then, and will always be fighting for you.